Ready to get the fit body of your dreams? Welcome to the FITBODY podcast. I'm Jolie Laurie, an IFBB fitness pro, certified personal trainer, and nutrition coach. Back in 2004, I created one of the world's first online personal training programs and have helped thousands of women transform their bodies and their lives online ever since. I've been featured in fitness magazines worldwide and even competed on American Ninja Warrior. But my passion is helping women love both how they look and how they feel through balanced workouts and healthy eating. Welcome to the FITBODY podcast. Today, I invite you to join me to learn more about some of the specifics of breast cancer. This is a topic that is close to my heart as I have faced this formidable foe not once, but twice. And over the last 15-20 years, I have worked directly with women in my online training program, both immediately before, during, and after their own breast cancer journeys. Today, I want to share with you some of the really important aspects that you need to understand if you're being diagnosed with breast cancer: hormone receptor status and HER2 status. These are like uncovering a secret code that can unlock the most effective strategies in your fight against breast cancer. I'm going to dive into the very hormones that weave into this complex narrative, shaping the fate of cancer cells in your body. And if you, like me, are one of the 70 to 80% of breast cancer patients who have hormone-positive breast cancer, then I'm going to help you understand some of the things that you can specifically do with your nutrition, your eating habits, and food to help your recovery journey. Okay, let's dive in. When I was first diagnosed with breast cancer, one of the things that they determined was the hormone receptor status of the tumor cells itself. So this hormone receptor status is really important because it is going to help your doctors know the best path to defeat your cancer. So I want to start by explaining what hormone receptor status means in the context of breast cancer. So our breasts have receptors, namely estrogen and progesterone receptors, so specifically to those hormones. Early on, one of my doctors explained that these receptors are like docking stations on the surface of breast cells. When hormones like estrogen and progesterone bind to these receptors, they can influence the behavior of those cells. So they can turn them on, turn them off, tell them to grow. When we talk about hormone receptor status, essentially, we're looking at whether the breast cancer cells have those receptors on it or not. If they do, the cancer is termed hormone receptor positive. Both of mine were hormone receptor positive. It's important because it means that the cancer cells are fueled by your hormones. Usually, estrogen is the most predominant hormone that's going to fuel breast cancer cells. Progesterone does as well, but mainly it's estrogen. Conversely, if the cancer cells do not have these docking stations or these small receptors that hormones dock onto, then they're called hormone receptor negative. So in that case, hormones don't really play a very significant role in fueling cancer's growth. So hormone receptor status helps guide treatment decisions. Interestingly, 70 to 80% of the women diagnosed with breast cancer, 70 to 80% of those have hormone receptor positive type cancers. So it is definitely the most predominant type. The good news is, if you are diagnosed with a hormone receptor positive breast cancer, then treatments like hormone therapy can be really effective in blocking the hormones from attacking and attaching to those receptors. And so it's going to slow down, or it can even stop the growth of the cancer cells. So we've talked about estrogen and progesterone positive cancer. Now I want to take you through something called HER2 status. So HER2 stands for Human Epidermal Growth Factor Receptor 2. So that's kind of a mouthful, but it's another protein that's found on the surface of some breast cancer cells. When there's a lot of HER2, so there's a lot of that protein on the cell, it can lead to uncontrolled cell growth. So a HER2 positive breast cancer is a more aggressive type of cancer, and the receptors are overactive. So when you're looking at status, the ideal, if you have to have breast cancer, it's better to have hormone positive, so estrogen, progesterone positive, and HER2 negative, ideally. So understanding the HER2 status is really important because, again, it's going to help your doctors know what treatment is best. And there have been huge advances in HER2 positive breast cancers in the last 10 years or so. So targeted treatments like Herceptin can be used to specifically target and block those HER2 receptors. So that's going to slow down the cancer growth. What's really fascinating, though, and it's important to understand these hormones and HER2 receptors, how they affect cancer cells. So estrogen, for instance, that's going to stimulate the growth of the hormone receptor positive cells. The way that hormone therapy works for a woman's body is by reducing the levels of estrogen or by blocking the estrogen receptors on cancer cells. So effectively, these medications are designed to starve the individual cells of the hormones that they need in order to grow. Okay, so let's go back to that HER2 protein. So in HER2 positive breast cancer, the HER2 receptors signal the cell to grow and divide. Those kind of targeted therapies like Herceptin are going to go in and block those signals, and that's going to keep the cancer from multiplying and spreading. I'd also like to add, there are hormone receptor and HER2 status tests that are usually done on the tissue samples, and that's what's taken during your breast biopsy. So right when I had my breast biopsy, those core samples were sent off and they were evaluated for their receptor status. One thing that I found really interesting is that when a breast cancer cell metastasizes, when it goes into your lymph system, into your other places in your body, that cell still is a breast cell. So it still has these receptors on it. And that was something that was interesting to me when I had my lumpectomy. They took the actual tumor out. They did a biopsy of the lymph nodes. So they actually took out several lymph nodes and tested those to see if there were any breast cancer cells in them. But what I didn't really understand is why I would need to take hormone therapy if they had gotten all of the cancer out. Well, the reason for that is because just in case any of these small microscopic individual cells do escape and they didn't catch them, they go elsewhere in your body, they're still breast cells. So they still retain that receptor designation. So if you are hormone receptor positive, even if that tiny breast cancer individual cell gets into, say, your blood, into your bones or your liver, into another place, it's still going to react as a breast cell, and it's going to be stimulated by estrogen and by progesterone. And that's the reason that hormone therapy is so crucial in your fight against breast cancer and against getting a recurrence later on. So I really want to delve in and talk about the things that you can do. So specifically for women like me who are hormone receptor positive, there's a lot that we can do to decrease our likelihood of recurrence. So once you've had surgery, if you have to have that, once you've had chemotherapy, once you've gone through all of the immediate treatments and you've dealt with that immediate tumor, longer term, you want to do everything possible to avoid a recurrence. Okay. So I've already talked a little bit about the medications, but adhering to that hormone therapy, first and foremost, that's going to be really important with your treatment plan. Hormone therapy is designed to lower the estrogen levels in your body. It's going to block the receptors so they can't bind to the cancer cells. I struggled after my first diagnosis with the side effects of tamoxifen in particular. And many women do struggle. It's a very strong drug. It's essentially binding all of the estrogen so that your body's deprived of it. Doesn't make you a super fun person, at least in my case. So I wasn't very compliant, to be honest. Looking back, I definitely regret that. I wish I had just pressed through the side effects, because I did have a second diagnosis of breast cancer. And that second primary cancer was again estrogen and progesterone positive. I will always wonder in the back of my mind, if I had been perfect on taking tamoxifen, would that have come back? I don't know. The fact that it came so quickly after the first diagnosis, chances are that tumor had already begun, but maybe we could have starved it. I'll never know. But from here on out, from the moment I had the second diagnosis, I dove in 100% with adherence to my hormone therapy, and I have not missed a single day of it since that second diagnosis. I did have the side effects again, but I've worked through them and seem to be doing really well at this point. I don't even really notice that I'm taking the hormone therapy so much. What I can tell you is, for women that are struggling taking tamoxifen, at least in my experience, it gets better. The individual side effects you have from that decrease over time. At least that's how it's been for me. So when I work with women who have had breast cancer, and both from my experience and from the other women I've worked with, there are many things that we can do nutritionally and with your lifestyle to help decrease the risk of you getting cancer again or of it recurring. So maintaining a healthy weight is really important. So that's going to be number one. When a woman walks into the oncologist, that's one of the very first things that they tell breast cancer patients is less body fat is going to decrease your overall estrogen, and it's going to help your body naturally have lower estrogen levels, so you're not fueling this hormone receptor positive breast cancer. So fat tissue is what's producing that estrogen. And when you have excess body fat, that's going to stimulate the growth of more of these hormone positive receptor breast cancer cells. So regular exercise, having a really strong strength training and cardio plan in place, along with a balanced diet, is going to help you maintain your healthy weight. So with breast cancer survivors, with thrivers, that's one of the very first things I do is I line out a nutrition plan and a training plan that is going to give them energy, is going to help bring down any excess body fat that they have so that they can be at that healthy weight. From there, eating nutrient-rich foods is going to make a huge difference. So when we talk about diet, I want to make sure that there are a variety of healthy foods on a woman's plate. So just like any woman that wants to get fit and healthy, we're going to break her foods down into 3 categories. So lean proteins, healthy fats, and complex carbohydrates. Vegetables are one that are really, in particular, are super important for all women, really, but especially for those women facing breast cancer. So eating a variety of fruits and vegetables, lots of different colors, lots of different vitamins and minerals and antioxidants. That's going to be what is really important. From there, I look at phytoestrogen-rich foods. So there's certain foods that contain phytoestrogens. Those are those plant compounds that can mimic estrogen in the body. It might sound counterintuitive, but it's actually beneficial for women with hormone receptor positive cancers. Phytoestrogens can bind to those estrogen receptors on the cells, but are generally much weaker than the body's natural estrogen. That's actually going to reduce the impact of estrogen on the cancer cells overall. So soy products, flax seeds, whole grains like oats and barley, I have greatly increased the amount of those in my personal diet and in the nutrition plans that I create for women. From there, I look at antioxidant-rich foods. So when you incorporate an antioxidant-rich food, that's going to help protect your body from the damage caused by free radicals. And those contribute to cancer development. So berries, nuts, leafy greens, brightly colored fruits and vegetables, not only are they going to be great for you as far as keeping a healthy weight, the antioxidants in those are going to help you fight cancer every day. From there, healthy fats are so important. So omega-3 fatty acids, those are found in things like salmon and walnuts. And one of my favorites, again, flaxseed. Not only do they have anti-inflammatory properties that are going to help decrease your risk of cancer, they also do things like support your overall heart and brain health. Okay, finally, I want to talk about something that you really want to cut out. Actually, two things that you definitely want to cut out if you have been diagnosed with breast cancer, especially the hormone receptor positive cancers. So alcohol and processed meats. And I love a glass of wine every once in a while, but I have had to significantly reduce my intake of alcohol because of the impact it has on estrogen. So it really is wise to limit or just avoid alcohol altogether along with processed meats. They increase your estrogen levels, for alcohol in particular. With processed meats, they contain chemicals that have been linked to cancer. Now, moderation is key. My oncologist didn't say I can never have a drink, but they were very clear that drinking frequently will increase the estrogen in your body, and that was obviously counterproductive. So every woman's journey with breast cancer is unique, and what works best for one person might differ for another. But in my experience, taking these steps to decreasing the amount of estrogen in your body when you have hormone receptor positive breast cancer is really critical and helpful in your overall treatment of breast cancer. So you have the power. So this is a really good thing. This is something you can personally do. Exercise, eat healthy, maintain a healthy weight, and limit your intake of alcohol and processed foods. Thank you for joining me for this episode of the FITBODY podcast. Thank you for joining me on the FITBODY podcast. Looking forward to sharing more health and fitness information with you soon. Want more information about my online personal training for women or the world's best supplements and protein powder? Check out fitbody.com for more info.